Okay, so do you remember in the lead up to that Chiefs game, I think it was yesterday's show, we were kind of breaking it down and saying what could we be missing as far as like a game script that goes in an unexpected way? And I invoked the game from last year where the Chiefs beat the Rams. I think it was like 26-10 or something weird.
They covered.
And the whole game felt gross. But not only did the Chiefs win in that game last season, they also covered, as Chris mentions. Was last night not identical to that? I think that's exactly what played out. The Chiefs win, they cover, and we feel gross about it.
Yeah, Chris.
So for me, looking at the box score between the Broncos and the Chiefs, and just watching the game in general, there was never a moment in time where I felt like that game was in any real danger of the Chiefs losing it. They dominated in pretty much every single aspect you could think of, except points on the board, which I'm not sure if I should be more concerned than I was last week about the Chiefs' short yardage decision-making processes.
Ugh.
Continual direct snaps to people who are not Patrick Mahomes or even a fullback or a running back. But, I mean, shout out to Harrison Butker for being the difference maker, booting 50-plus yard field goals to make up the difference. And shout out to Nick Bolton for coming back after 3 games of getting an interception in coverage.
Oh, my gosh.
He's that guy, by the way.
Read the eyes, right, Andy?
Read the eyes.
I cannot believe that was Old Jay, I think, that called in with that over-under of 0.5 Nick Bolton INTs, and we said, okay, that's like kind of fun. Maybe he could read the eyes of Russell Wilson and get one, but that's not really his strong suit, and yet it happens, and I will forever bemoan the state of Missouri legislators, because if this were a jurisdiction of legality, if you will, Andy, I would have immediately, upon Old Jay making that comment, gone, what the heck, what's $5? And thrown it on Nick Bolton to get a pick. It happened, and I have to imagine the odds were astronomical, but of course I didn't get a chance to do that. Thanks for nothing, Missouri. But how about Nick Bolton and the Chiefs' defense really in general, Andy?
Well, yeah, he made a huge play there. He had 4 total tackles. And look, his presence was definitely felt. The Chiefs' defense is the main story there. They got a few sacks. They got, of course, those 3 takeaways, forced a fumble at the end. Russell Wilson still bleh. There is part of that. But at the same time, the Chiefs defense held them to a very low point total. And so
they did their job, and it took an insane catch by Cortland Sutton just to get him on the board at all.
Right.
With that touchdown. So credit to the defense. I know they're 5-1. We're talking about, can we be concerned about the offense? Can we talk about that, or does that make us negative Nancy's? Because what in the world? You mentioned it with some of the decision-making, Chris, on short yardage. They try to get too cute. I don't understand it, but it's kind of a running theme, I feel like, for Andy Reid, where we praise when it goes well and there's creativity in the offense. But some of the, they think it's creative, but everybody kind of can see what it is, and it just doesn't serve any purpose. I'm tired of that, and I am concerned. I am concerned about not only the wide receivers, but kind of the guy throwing it to him last night. It just didn't. The red zone interception by Mahomes was just a weird lollipop throw into double coverage. I don't exactly understand what he's seeing sometimes this year, guys.
Well, I mean, yes, you can be concerned about Mahomes, but I don't know if it extends to the full season. And I'll say this. For now, I was kind of holding out a little bit more hope. Maybe the wide receiver core will start to pick things up. And look, Rashee Rice sure did. Rashee Rice had a good game.
He's the one.
But everybody else, I think only 2 other wide receivers caught passes the other night. Obviously, Tony had the touchdown catch, but other than that, not very many inspiring plays. MVS.
Sky Moore had 22 yards.
Sky Moore had a couple of catches.
Touchdown drop as well.
No catches for MVS. Justin Watson got hurt, and apparently he's going to be out for a few weeks.
Is he going to be?
Ian Rappaport saying today, I believe that dislocated elbow. They're going to MRI it and see if it's any worse, but I think at least a few weeks for him.
I won't rip him too hard then, because I was like, how do you drop? I mean, that was the Justin Watson special.
It was a rough drop.
He got hurt in the process, so I'm not going to belabor the point on that one. But yeah, dude, the wide receivers, they are not good. And I don't know how that changes other than a trade. And is it a case where, like you said, okay, let's be a little bit mildly concerned about Mahomes, but doesn't extend to the full season. But if this is the receiving core that he has the full season, is he lacking confidence in his, is that maybe a little bit what's going on here? Patrick Mahomes has been through the wars, but is there a sense that he's kind of pressing a little bit because he knows that he's dealing with a deficit at that position at the pass catchers group?
I mean, again, it is on the wide receivers to get open downfield.
Definitely.
And, I mean, sometimes you maybe see Mahomes forcing some of those throws to try and get them open.
He's used to being able to do that, throwing people open.
And look, he's taken sacks also. Like, he's had to run to scramble to get first downs. Like, it's nothing new. Like, he's made those plays, and he's excellent for it. It's why he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. But yeah, a little bit more often you're seeing things be a little bit off. And so I think now that, you're going to be without Justin Watson for a little bit, now that you have the roster spot, absolutely. You've got, 2.5 weeks before the trade deadline for the NFL. It's coming quick.
It's November, right, though? Yeah. It's early November?
Yeah, but that's going to be here before we know it. It's only a few weeks away. So, I mean...
Yeah, we're mid-October at this point.
So you're going to be shorthanded a little bit in the wide receiver room. You already had 7 there, so, I mean, you've got enough, but... especially when it comes to experience and reliability, there is a deficit there. I would try and find a trade partner some way, somehow.
Can I give you a name? I got a name. It's the name they need to go get. Here's the name. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Go do it.
Really?
Absolutely, Hollywood Brown.
We'll just say Rondale Moore, but that works.
Now, but Hollywood Brown, he forced his way out of the Ravens initially, right? He requested that trade to the Cardinals. Yeah. That was when Kyler was healthy, and this year he's not. But look at the numbers that Marquise Brown is putting up. He has been the model of consistency this year. You need a consistent, proven player to supplement this receiving core to give Patrick Mahomes a chance. Because I think it's accurate to say that Mahomes has not played his best football. But I also think the more I kind of lean on this, he's trying to force those plays that normally he's so accustomed to being able to make, but he's never had less than he has right now. And so when you're used to being able to throw a guy open, you're used to being able to have a little bit of camaraderie with your pass catchers, and you've got Kelsey and a bunch of guys that, he may not say this out loud, but he doesn't. How could you trust these guys to make the right play for you? And I think it's hung him out to dry a couple of times where we just aren't used to seeing it on that level. So for me, Hollywood Brown is the type of consistent wide receiver that absolutely could be a godsend to this Chiefs team. I'll give you another name that, for the reasons we're describing, I don't think is the answer. It's a little riskier. And I'm going to say off the top, this would never happen. Yeah. This team would never trade this player to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I just bring it up because I want to keep an eye on the type of name that I'm not looking to pick up. T. Higgins. Now, like I said, the Bengals would never trade him to the Chiefs, but he is purportedly on the trade block, needs a contract, hasn't been healthy, hasn't been effective. And so there are some who think the Panthers need a wide receiver 1, and I've seen some scuttlebutt that maybe that's a match. It would never happen with the Chiefs because they're rivals in the AFC, contending every year to try to get to the Super Bowl. But I bring up the name just to say, don't get a T. Higgins type receiver that you can't rely on week in and week out. Patrick Mahomes right now needs a guy that he knows he can trust to be out there, to be active, to be consistent. Hollywood Brown has been all of those things this year.
But how much is T. Higgins, first of all, health-wise, and then secondly, how much is it? But how much is it also maybe Joe Burrow? Is that playing into it also for T. Higgins?
But, I mean, Jamar Chase, and again, it's maybe not fair to just compare everyone to Jamar Chase because he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. If not, he's in the top 3.
Yeah.
But he's been fine. T. Higgins has been banged up, but that's not new. Last year, there were multiple games where he wasn't listed as out, but he did not play. To me, there's just enough kind of weirdness there where I go, okay, and again, it's not even relevant because the Bengals would never deal with the Chiefs in that regard. But I'm looking for a guy that you can count on. Patrick Mahomes needs a guy that you can count on. I feel like Mike Evans would have been that guy if not for the fact that the Bucs are 3-1. They're probably not unloading him because they're in first place right now in the NFC South. But the Cardinals, I think, know what's coming, and they have no reason not to take a few pieces and send them away just to try to get a little bit worse and get a better draft position this year.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown's the name that I want to see go to the Chiefs. I'm not saying
nice.
There's scuttlebutt. I'm not saying there's reports. I'm saying sitting here looking at the situation, that's who Patrick Mahomes needs and quite honestly deserves from this front office before the trade deadline.
He needs another fast, slow guy that can catch passes.
875-KTGR. Call or text us with who you think the Chiefs need to maybe go and target in the wide receiver market, if that is, in fact, where they need to go. Which, look, especially now that you're down a receiver, it is the perfect time to at least look, test it, see if there's interest to get somebody in the room.
Look, and if a Justin Watson injury is what gets you on board, then fine. I'm not trying to diminish a guy who maybe has a serious injury, but he was a bit player in this offense. They need a guy who is going to elevate to legit play 80% of the snaps and be reliable and be out there every play. Like if you're Mahomes, I know they've got a lot of guys they're trying to mix in, but how beneficial to your quarterback is it to have guys playing 40, 50, 60% of snaps to where every play almost, it seems like it's a different cast and crew out there that you're trying to gain a rhythm with. I think they need to pick a guy and have him be on the field for the majority of the game, but Sky Moore's not that guy. Rashee Rice could be that guy, but I think Chiefs, they owe it to their fans, they owe it to their quarterback, they owe it to this roster to say, look, we are in the window right now. Let's go ahead and maximize the window and get some help at a position of need if the opportunity presents itself. And I think it is going to present itself before the deadline.
Give us your thoughts at 875-KTGR with a call or a text. Steve texting in, they almost always play to the level of their opponents, and the defense is much better than the offense so far this year. I won't say that. I think they're about the same.
No, the defense has definitely been better than the offense.
The offense is ranked 7th in the league in yards per game.
The ball.
The defense is also ranked 7th in the league in yards per game. We hold the offense to the higher standard. We expect them to be top 5 every year, and we don't expect the defense. They've been the same. They've been the same this year.
No, you can't just look at yards per game and tell me that's the entire picture. Look at scoring. Look at efficiency in the red zone.
Scoring there too.
The Chiefs' offense has not been. You're telling me their scoring average is better than their defensive scoring average rankings wise? I find that hard to believe. I know that they've played an extra game because nobody else in the NFL has played yet this week, but it's
not giving me the rankings, but it's 24.5 points per game from the Chiefs' offense and
offensively.
Yeah, offensively.
Right. I can find that. I can find that stat. Don't worry.
Okay, fine. Look, I think they have been. We hold this offense to a higher standard, and they haven't met that standard, and that's why we think that very clearly the defense is better than the offense. But I think they're equally as strong at what they do. Because we haven't seen the defense do this for the Chiefs over the last few years, and now they're doing it. All of a sudden they're better than the offense. No, they're about the same. That's how I see it. So it's good that they're balanced, but yes, from what the Chiefs have done so far this year and trying to maximize Patrick Mahomes' full potential, you need to give him weapons. You need to try and find ways to have this offense elevate once again to where they once were.
Yeah, I just want to be on the record that I really do disagree with Andy on this. When you score 19 against the Broncos, 23 against the Chiefs, 17 against the Jags,
23 against the
Jets. That would be impressive, though. That's a nice scrimmage. Those are the numbers. 20 against the Lions. They've had one game where they've cleared the 27 they had against the Vikings, which is like a fine performance. On the road at the Vikings, 27, solid. They whooped up on the Bears. The majority of their games have been disappointing from an offensive perspective. 20, 17, 23, and 19. So that's the majority of the games played so far. And you have one game that inflates your average. No, I'm not going to say the offense has been good. I'm not going to say the offense has been as good as the defense, which has carried this team so far. And when I find the rankings, I believe that they are going to back me up. It's not concerning to you that in 4 of 6 games, they've been below expectations offensively in 4 of the 6 games they played?
Not right now. Because again, it was not that tough of a start to the schedule. That's
the problem. They haven't been scoring against teams that they should probably be scoring against. Again, this is that, don't put words in my mouth that, hey, it means the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs or that they can't contend for a Super Bowl. But again, 20 against the Lions, 17 against the Jags, 23 against the Jets, 19 against the Broncos. Do you think those were good offensive performances?
It wasn't Chiefs-like, that's for sure.
No, I mean good by the standard of if you score 24, 27 points in the NFL, you're like, all right, that's okay. They didn't do that in any of those 4 games. I think you're tethered to this thing of we hold the Chiefs to a higher standard. I'm just looking at the numbers in any.
I'm looking at the numbers too.
No, but you're not adhering to them. I just asked you. Do you think if you don't score 24 points in any of those matchups that they had good offensive performances those days against those opponents?
Okay, fine. They did fall short of those expectations. Yes.
In 66% of their games
They're
so
still
far.
averaging around that number, though. So, I mean,
but you're going to lean, I'm just asking, you're going to lean on the Bears game alone to say, hey, they're averaging. You know how bad the Bears are defensively. That's the one time that they've really exceeded expectations. I would say they've met them in the Vikings game. So 4 below, 1 right at, 1 above.
Again, they're moving the ball just fine. They have turned it over a few times that you would not like to see. Mahomes had some weird throws the last few weeks or so. No, it's not what I think this team should become for the rest of the season. That said, we expect them to be top 5. No, they're not top 5 right now. Boo-hoo. They'll eventually get there if they get some wide receiver help.
The Chiefs are second in the NFL in scoring defense. They're 9th in scoring offense. They're not the same. They're not the same so far, which is okay. There's room for the offense to improve, but I think it's kind of being too generous to say the offense has been good. I want to call attention to it because I think it's, again, 4 below expectations, 1 right at, and 1 where they beat expectations against a bad defense. There's, again, you mentioned it too, the schedule. It hasn't shown to have been too tough so far to begin the year. I'll give you the Lions because their defense has been really good. But the Jags have given up points to people. CJ Stroud, your guy, I mean, he carved them up. And there have been some other, the Jets have obviously got a solid defense, but there have been teams that have done a lot more against them than what KC did. So I'm still wait and see mode. I'm not saying the offense is bad. I'm saying last night was enough in conjunction with everything else that we've seen to go, I think there is some level of concern. And let's watch it play out against some better teams coming up where they might have to score to beat some of these teams.
Yeah, Chris.
So how much of this is colored? Because we talked about, the Chiefs have been moving up and down the football field at will.
Right.
How much of this do you think is characterized by just some of the head-scratching, what are you doing, dude, play call situations on those, 3rd and 4th? I feel like if they were just, normal play calls where it's Pacheco up the gut, hit McKinnon out in the flat to move the chains, we'd be talking about this offense in a different way, but right now it kind of feels like, I don't know, maybe they're bored or they're just gaming themselves out.
Yesterday,
they're selling themselves short.
Look, yesterday they had a bad red zone day. I don't know why they faked the field goal there. If you're going to go for it, run a real play.
Just go for it.
It's only 4th and 2. You can manage that. They were 1 for 5 on touchdowns, I believe, in the red zone. It was a bad day for that. I'm not saying they
weird
played
decisions
well
and red
yesterday,
zone goofs.
but I mean, I know this offense is capable of really lighting it up, even with some of this bad wide. Let's say it, bad wide receiver play that we've seen.
Maybe he reaches
tackles. Tackles have not been very good either. Jawan Taylor had yet another, I believe, untimely penalty yesterday. So
just one though.
Just one. Okay, progress.
Progress.
So we'll see. But yes, in these next few weeks, test the trade market, see what's available as far as wide receivers. You got some cover to do it now. I think it's worth it. So we'll see. But what are your thoughts with the Chiefs? Just getting an 11-point win against the Broncos. It was enough to cover. It was enough to cover, as Al Michaels pointed out at the end of the game to you yesterday.
I'll bet he did.
Yeah, he sure did.
He's on it.